The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, its screen glowing like a beacon in the dim evening light, pulling Mark's gaze from the half-chopped vegetables. His wife, Emily, had left it there before stepping out for her evening jog, a routine she'd kept religiously for years. The notification flashed, a name he didn't expect, Jake. Her ex. Mark's stomach twisted, a primal instinct whispering that something was wrong. He hesitated, his thumb hovering over the screen. They'd been married 5 years, built a life of quiet moments and shared dreams. Surely it was nothing. But the buzz came again, insistent and curiosity, tinged with dread. He unlocked the phone. Emily had never changed her passcode from the one they set together on their honeymoon. 0714, the day they'd vowed forever. The message thread opened, and his breath caught. "I'm just waiting for his inheritance, then I'm yours," Emily had written to Jake 2 days ago. The words burned into Mark's eyes, each syllable a shard of glass. His heart pounded, a sickening rhythm, as he scrolled up, the screen revealing a betrayal so raw it felt like the air had been sucked from the room. Mark sank into a chair, the knife he'd been using for the carrots forgotten on the counter. His mind raced, replaying their life together. The late-night talks about starting a family, the way she'd laugh at his terrible puns, the quiet mornings when she'd rest her head on his chest. Had it all been a lie? The texts stretched back months, flirtations, plans, promises. Jake's replies were smug, possessive. "Just a little longer, babe. We'll be set." Mark's hands trembled. His father's estate, tied up in legal battles but worth millions, was due to settle soon. Emily knew that. She'd been there through every call with the lawyers, every sleepless night worrying about the future. The front door clicked open, and Emily's voice called out, bright and carefree, "Mark, you home?" Her footsteps echoed in the hallway, and he froze, the phone still clutched in his hand. Part of him wanted to scream, to hurl the device at the wall and demand answers. But another part, the part that still loved her despite the knife in his chest, wanted to believe there was an explanation. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it wasn't what it seemed. "Hey, you okay?" Emily appeared in the doorway, her cheeks flushed from her run, her blonde ponytail swinging. She looked so normal, so herself, that for a moment, Mark doubted what he'd read. But the phone in his hand felt like a live wire, and her eyes flicked to it, narrowing slightly. "Why's Jake texting you?" His voice was low, controlled, but it carried the weight of his hurt. Emily's smile faltered, just for a second. "Jake? Oh, probably something stupid. You know how he is." She moved toward the counter, reaching for a glass of water, but her nonchalance felt forced, like a performance she hadn't rehearsed enough. "I read the text, Sam." The words came out heavier than he'd meant, and the air between them thickened. Her hand paused midair, then dropped to her side. She didn't look at him, just stared at the glass, her fingers tightening around it. "What are you talking about?" she said, but her voice was too high, too brittle. "I'm just waiting for his inheritance, then I'm yours." Mark's voice broke on the last word, and he hated himself for it. He stood, the phone held out like evidence in a trial. "You wrote that?" To him. Emily's face crumpled, but not with guilt, with defiance. "You went through my phone?" she snapped, turning to face him. "That's low, Mark. Even for you." "Don't." He stepped closer, his voice shaking. "Don't turn this on me. Explain it. Now." She crossed her arms, her jaw tight, but her eyes betrayed her, darting, searching for an escape. "It's not what you think," she said finally, her voice softer, almost pleading. "I was angry. We'd had that fight about the house, and I was venting. It didn't mean anything." "Venting?" Mark's laugh was bitter, hollow. "For months? You've been planning a life with him, Em. While I'm here, thinking we're building one together." His throat tightened, and he hated how much he still wanted her to deny it, to make it make sense. Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Emily's shoulders slumped, and when she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. It started as, I don't know, a way to feel something else. You've been so focused on the inheritance, the lawyers, your dad. I felt like I was disappearing." Mark's chest ached, a mix of anger and guilt. He had been distant, consumed by the stress of his father's estate. But disappearing? She'd been his anchor, the one thing keeping him grounded. Or so he'd thought. So you turned to him? He asked, his voice raw. You plan to leave me for my dad's money? No. Emily's eyes filled with tears, and she reached for him, but he stepped back, the space between them a chasm. I love you, Mark. I do. I got lost. Jake was there, and it felt like an escape. But I don't want him. I want us. Her words hung in the air, fragile and unconvincing. Mark wanted to believe her, to cling to the life they'd built, but the texts were a poison seeping into every memory. He thought of the nights she'd stayed up late, claiming work emails, or the weekends she'd spent with friends. How much had been lies? I need time, he said finally, his voice barely audible. He set the phone on the counter and walked past her, ignoring the way her hand reached for his arm. The hallway felt too narrow, the house too small to hold his grief. He grabbed his keys and left, the door closing softly behind him. The night air was cool, the stars indifferent above. Mark drove aimlessly, the city lights blurring through tears he refused to acknowledge. He thought of his father, a man who'd always warned him to guard his heart. People want what you have, son, he'd said, his voice rough with years of hard-won wisdom. Mark had dismissed it, believing love was stronger than greed. Now he wasn't sure. Hours later, he pulled into a motel parking lot, the neon sign flickering like his resolve. He sat in the car, replaying Emily's words, her tears, her excuses. Part of him wanted to go home, to fight for her, to believe they could rebuild. But the texts, those cold, calculated words, kept surfacing, a reminder of how deeply she'd betrayed him. He checked into a room, the sterile walls mirroring the emptiness inside him. Lying on the stiff mattress, he stared at the ceiling, his mind a battlefield of love and hurt. He didn't know if he could forgive her, or if he even wanted to try. But one thing was certain. The man who'd walked into that kitchen tonight, trusting and hopeful, was gone. In his place was someone new, wounded, wary, and searching for a way to piece himself back together. The phone in his pocket buzzed, Emily's name lighting up the screen. He let it ring, each vibration a question he wasn't ready to answer. Tomorrow he'd face her. Tomorrow he'd decide. But tonight, he let the pain wash over him, a tidal wave of heartbreak that carried the weight of a love he'd thought was forever.